The story of Kumbha Ghosaka, the banker. Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Rajagaha, there lived a wealthy banker and his family. One day, a terrible plague swept through the city, and many people fell ill, including the banker and his wife. As they lay stricken with the disease, they gave their young son, Kumbha Ghosaka, a final piece of advice: leave the city, for it is no place for you now. Go far from here and stay safe. When the time is right, return to this place. We have buried a treasure worth 40 crores in the ground, hidden safely at a secret spot. Only you will know where it is. Kumbha Ghosaka, young and dutiful, fled the city and took refuge in a distant forest. There, he lived for 12 long years, far from home and family. When he finally returned to Rajagaha, he was a young man, no longer the child he had once been. The city had changed, and no one recognized him. He was a stranger in his own land. One day, Kumbha Ghosaka made his way to the spot where his parents had hidden the treasure. To his relief, the treasure was still there, undisturbed. But as he stood before the buried chest of riches, he thought carefully. If I take this treasure now, he reasoned, no one will believe that it belongs to me. They will think I am just another poor man who has found a hidden fortune. The king might hear of it, and my wealth could be seized. Or worse, I might be punished for it. Kumbha Ghosaka made a decision. It was not the right time to claim the treasure. Instead, he would find work to support himself until a better opportunity arose. Dressed in humble clothes, he took up a modest job, waking people early in the morning, calling out reminders to prepare for the day. His voice rang through the streets as he went about his duties, announcing when it was time to cook, when it was time to bring in carts, or when the bullocks needed to be yoked. The work was simple, but it kept him busy, and it kept him humble. One morning, as Kumbha Ghosaka was calling out his usual reminders, King Bimbisara happened to be passing by. The king, known for his sharp ears and keen judgment, paused and said to those around him, I have heard many voices in my time, but this is the voice of a man of great wealth. A servant of the king was sent to investigate, but he found nothing extraordinary, just a young hireling, doing his daily tasks. The king, however, was not easily convinced. Over the next few days, he repeated his remark, still convinced that there was something more to this voice. Curious and determined, the king's maid, with her daughter in tow, decided to investigate further. Disguised as common travelers, they approached the house where Kumbha Ghosaka lived. He welcomed them, offering them shelter for the night. The maid, though, was determined to stay longer, hoping to learn more. During her stay, the king issued a decree, announcing that a certain ceremony was to be held in the area, and that each household would need to contribute a sum of money. Kumbha Ghosaka had no funds available, and so he reluctantly took a few coins from the hidden treasure and gave them to the maid to use for the contribution. The maid, ever watchful, replaced the coins with her own money and sent the original coins to the king. She then sent word to the palace, asking the king to send men to summon Kumbha Ghosaka. When the royal guards arrived at Kumbha Ghosaka's humble home, the young man knew that the time had come. He followed them to the palace, feeling a deep sense of unease. The maid and her daughter were already there, waiting for him. At the palace, the king looked at Kumbha Ghosaka with a knowing eye and said, Tell me the truth, young man. You need not fear, no harm will come to you. Speak honestly, and I will not punish you. Kumbha Ghosaka, after a moment of silence, spoke with humility. Your Majesty, I am indeed the son of the banker who once lived in this city. My parents died of the plague 12 years ago, and I was forced to leave the city. I did not return sooner because I feared that people would not believe me. But the treasure you speak of, those coins, belong to me. I know the place where my parents hid their fortune. The king was astonished, but he listened closely as Kumbha ghosaka led him to the secret spot. Together, they unearthed the treasure, gold, jewels, and riches beyond measure. The king was impressed by the young man's honesty and humility, and he decided to reward him. Kumbha ghosaka was made the royal banker, and the king even offered him his daughter's hand in marriage. The king, filled with admiration for Kumbha ghosaka's character, decided to take him to the Buddha at the Velluvana monastery. There, the king told the Buddha all that had transpired, how the young man had lived as a humble worker, despite his great wealth, and how he had risen to his rightful place as the royal banker. At this, the Buddha smiled and spoke in verse, "If a person is energetic, mindful, pure in thought, word, and deed, and if they do everything with care and consideration, restrain their senses, earn their living in accordance with the law, and remain heedful and attentive, then the fame and fortune of that person will steadily increase." The Buddha's words struck deep within Kumbha ghosaka's heart. In that moment, he realized that his journey had been more than just a path to material wealth. His patience, his humility, his mindfulness in every step, these were the true treasures he had gained. And with that realization, Kumbha ghosaka attained the first stage of enlightenment, the Sotapaddi fruition, and his heart was at peace. Kumbha ghosaka's choice to live humbly, work honestly, and wait for the right moment to claim his inheritance teaches us that inner growth, ethical living, and careful decision-making lead to lasting happiness and fulfillment, far more than any external riches ever could. That is for now. See you in the next story. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.